The council chamber of the Galactic Consortium stretched wider than most planetary capitals. Crystalline walls refracted light from 1,000 suns, casting prismatic shadows across the assembly floor, where representatives from 400 species gathered in judgment. Commander Elena Vasquez stood alone in the accused's circle, her hands bound by photonic restraints that hummed with suppressed energy. Above her, the holographic display projected the evidence. Colony ships destroyed, mining stations obliterated, entire settlements reduced to ash. The death toll numbered in the millions, all attributed to humanity. "You have brought war to a galaxy that knew peace for 10,000 cycles," Archon Velthor announced, his 6 arms spreading wide in a gesture of absolute authority. The mantis-like magistrate's voice resonated through translation nodes embedded in every delegate's consciousness. "Your species arrived claiming friendship, yet within a generation you have become our greatest threat." Elena's jaw tightened. She had commanded supply runs, not warships. She'd spent 5 years delivering medicine to frontier colonies, helping terraform barren worlds, teaching human agricultural techniques to species struggling with crop failure. The accusations were insane. "We didn't do this," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. "Humans are explorers, not conquerors. Show me proof, real proof, not just wreckage with human signatures planted on it." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Zephyrian delegation, beings of pure thought within containment fields, pulsed angry red. The Korthaks, massive reptilian traders, hissed their disapproval through rows of serrated teeth. "The evidence is irrefutable," Velthor continued. "Energy signatures match human fusion drives. Weapon residue contains isotopes unique to Earth-origin munitions. Communication logs recovered from debris fields show human command codes." He leaned forward, compound eyes glittering. "Unless you claim your entire species has been compromised, Commander Vasquez, you must accept responsibility." "Someone's framing us," Elena insisted. "Can't you see? It's too perfect, too convenient. Every attack leaves behind exactly the evidence you'd need to condemn us." "Paranoid deflection," Ambassador Quicks of the Merchant Collective interjected, their slug-like form undulating with contempt. "A classic human trait, we have learned. Unable to accept guilt, you manufacture conspiracies." Elena felt the walls closing in. Earth's entire diplomatic mission, 300 souls, had been arrested simultaneously across a dozen worlds. Humanity's colonies were under quarantine. Their trade routes were blockaded. In the span of 48 hours, her species had gone from promising newcomers to galactic pariahs. The worst part? She couldn't prove their innocence. Every shred of counter-evidence had been sealed or classified as compromised by human interference. It was a perfect trap. "This council will vote on humanity's fate," Velthor declared. "Exile to your home system with permanent border restrictions, or complete dissolution of your colonial presence with enforced population controls. You have brought this upon yourselves." Elena closed her eyes. Humanity's dream of the stars, ending before it had truly begun. Then the chamber's lighting failed. Emergency protocols activated, bathing the massive space in amber warning lights. Delegates cried out in alarm as their translation nodes sputtered and died. In the confusion, Elena felt her restraints flicker and fade. Evacuation procedures initiated, an automated voice announced. "Unknown energy signature detected in sub-level archive chambers. All personnel report to designated safe zones," but Elena didn't run. Something called to her. Not a sound, but a feeling, like a memory of a song she'd never heard. It pulled her toward the chamber's lower levels, where the consortium kept its most ancient artifacts. She moved through panicked crowds, slipping past security teams focused on protecting the delegates. Down spiral ramps lined with displays of primitive tools and forgotten technologies. Past weapons from extinct civilizations and art from species lost to time. The feeling intensified. In the deepest vault, surrounded by stasis fields and energy barriers that now flickered weakly, she found it, a crystalline structure roughly the size of her torso, suspended in midair, pulsing with soft blue light. Its surface was covered in symbols. Not any language she recognized, yet somehow familiar. Ancient. Fundamental. Elena reached out, her fingertips brushing its surface. The relic sang, not with sound, but with pure information that flooded her consciousness. Images cascaded through her mind. Species rising and falling, empires spanning galaxies, wars that consumed entire sectors. And through it all, a thread of truth, a record keeper, a witness to 10 million years of galactic history. The relic had been waiting for someone to ask the right question, to touch it with genuine need for truth rather than desire for power. And now, it showed her. The attacks hadn't been carried out by humans. They'd been orchestrated by the Vulcan Ascendancy, a faction within the consortium itself led by Archon Velthor. They'd used captured human technology, falsified records, and murdered millions of innocents not to destroy humanity, but to prevent what the relic had shown them was coming. Humanity wasn't a threat to galactic peace. Humanity was the key to uncovering corruption that had festered in the consortium's heart for centuries. The relic pulsed brighter, and Elena understood. It had chosen humanity to be its voice, to be the heir of truth in a galaxy built on lies. She pulled her hand back, the knowledge burning bright in her mind. The lighting stabilized, alarms fell silent, and in that moment of restored calm, Elena Vasquez smiled. They'd tried to erase humanity's name from the stars. Now, she would make sure the galaxy never forgot it. Elena emerged from the archive vault with the relic cradled in her arms. Its crystalline surface had dimmed to a soft azure glow, warm against her chest like a living heartbeat. The knowledge it had shared still reverberated through her thoughts. Names, dates, locations of the real conspirators, and something else. Something far more dangerous to those who'd tried to bury humanity. Proof. Security teams swarmed the corridor, weapons trained on her the moment she appeared. "Step away from the artifact," the lead guard commanded, his Thelian carapace bristling with bioluminescent threat displays. "I can't do that," Elena said calmly. "This relic just showed me who actually committed the massacres. And it wasn't humans. More lies." Velthor's voice echoed through the passage. The Archon descended from an upper platform, flanked by 6 elite guards. His compound eyes fixed on the relic with an intensity that bordered on fear. "That artifact is a relic of the First Age. It hasn't activated in 4,000 cycles. You've tampered with it using human technology, more evidence of your species' crimes." Elena shook her head. "It activated because I asked for the truth." "When did you stop asking, Velthor? When you decided that framing an innocent species was easier than admitting the consortium has rotted from within?" The guards shifted uncomfortably. Several delegates had followed the commotion, gathering at the corridor's edges. Ambassador Quicks oozed forward, their eye stalks weaving with curiosity. "What is she claiming now?" "The attacks were carried out by the Vulcan Ascendancy," Elena announced, her voice carrying through the growing crowd. "A faction within the consortium's own security forces. They used captured human ships, falsified evidence, and murdered millions to make us the perfect enemy. Why? Because the relic predicted something they couldn't control." "This is absurd," Velthor hissed. "Guards, restrain her immediately." But the relic pulsed, and suddenly the corridor was filled with light. Holographic projections erupted from the crystalline structure, surrounding the assembled crowd with images of stunning clarity. They watched as Vulcan agents hijacked human colony ships, reprogrammed their navigation systems, and piloted them into populated stations. They saw engineers plant isotope markers, communication specialists forge command logs, entire teams dedicated to creating the perfect frame, and they saw why. The images shifted, showing the relic's true purpose. It wasn't just an archive, it was a probability engine, calculating potential futures based on patterns it had observed across eons. And in every projection where humanity joined the consortium's ranks as equal partners, corruption was exposed. Trade monopolies crumbled. Military collusions collapsed. Species that had been exploited for centuries found champions in these strange newcomers who valued justice over profit. Humanity wasn't dangerous because they were violent. They were dangerous because they refused to accept injustice as normal. "You see?" Elena's voice cut through the stunned silence. "The Vulcan Ascendancy has controlled trade routes for 300 cycles, manipulated resource distribution, even influenced council votes through blackmail and bribery. Humans started asking questions they didn't like. Questions about why frontier colonies never received promised aid, why mining operations kept having accidents that transferred claims to Vulcan corporations, why species that challenged them mysteriously faced economic collapse. The projections continued, showing a web of corruption so vast it touched every level of the consortium. Delegates watched their own faces appear in the relic's memories, Some accepting bribes, others coerced into compliance. A few actively participating in the conspiracy. "Turn it off!" Velthor shrieked, his composed demeanor shattered. "This is a human trick, a manipulation." "The relic operates on quantum encryption older than your civilization," Ambassador Ythral interrupted, the crystalline being's voice ringing with mathematical certainty. "It cannot be tampered with or fooled. If it shows these images, they are recorded fact." More delegates pressed forward, their initial fear transforming into outrage as they recognized the scope of the deception. The Thelian guard captain lowered his weapon, mandibles clicking in distress. "My nest sister died in the Proxima Station attack. You're saying we blamed humans for our own people's murders?" Elena nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Every death attributed to us was really a murder committed to protect power and profit. They didn't just try to erase humanity's name. They used innocent blood to right their lies." The relic pulsed once more, and a final image materialized. It showed Commander Vasquez herself, standing in this very corridor, holding the crystalline structure. But the image wasn't from the past. It was a projection, a possible future. Around her, delegates from hundreds of species stood united, not against humanity, but with them. Together, they had dismantled the corruption, rebuilt the consortium on foundations of transparency and justice. Humanity hadn't saved the galaxy alone. They'd inspired others to save it themselves. The image faded, leaving only potential hanging in the air. Velthor lunged forward, attempting to snatch the relic from Elena's arms, but the Thelian captain intercepted him, powerful claws catching the Archon mid-leap. "You will not destroy evidence of your crimes. Arrest him!" Ambassador Ythral commanded, their crystalline form refracting light with cold fury. "And anyone else the relic identifies as complicit. The consortium was founded on principles of equality and mutual prosperity. We will reclaim those ideals starting now." As guards surrounded Velthor, Elena looked down at the relic. It had gone dark now, its purpose fulfilled. But she could still feel it, warm and alive, a reminder that truth, no matter how deeply buried, eventually finds a way to shine. She'd come to the stars as an explorer. She'd been condemned as a destroyer. Now she was something else entirely. The heir of truth. Humanity's representative in a galaxy finally ready to face its own darkness. And the real work was just beginning. 6 months after the revelation, Commander Elena Vasquez stood at the window of the newly established Truth Commission headquarters, watching ships from 100 worlds arrive for the inaugural assembly. The massive space station had been constructed in neutral territory, its design deliberately incorporating architectural elements from every consortium species, including humans. The relic rested in a secured chamber at the station's heart, accessible to all but protected by representatives from each member species. It had become a symbol of the galaxy's commitment to transparency, a reminder that some truths were too important to hide. "Quite a view," Captain James Chen said, joining her at the observation deck. The older officer had been released from detention on Kepler 442b just 3 weeks prior, along with the other 278 wrongly imprisoned humans. "Never thought I'd see the day when our ships docked peacefully alongside Velkan cruisers." Elena smiled faintly. "The Velkan people aren't responsible for what their leadership did. Most of them had no idea about the Ascendancy's crimes." She gestured to a sleek vessel bearing traditional Velkan markings. "Ambassador Kixtha has been instrumental in rooting out remaining conspirators. Her testimony helped convict 47 high-ranking officials." "And Velthor?" "Life imprisonment on Titan penal colony, along with the others who planned the massacres." Elena's expression hardened. "No execution. We wanted them to live with what they'd done, to spend decades knowing they failed to bury the truth." Chen nodded approval. "Humanity's mercy. Some species thought we'd demand blood for blood." "That's exactly what they expected," Elena replied. "That's what would have proven their propaganda right, that humans are violent, vengeful, dangerous. Instead, we showed them who we really are. People who believe in justice over revenge. In building rather than destroying. The doors behind them opened, admitting Ambassador Ythral and a delegation of species representatives. The crystalline beings' facets caught the starlight, creating rainbow patterns across the deck. "Commander Vasquez, the assembly is prepared," Ythral announced. "They're waiting for the heir of truth to address them." Elena still bristled at the title. She hadn't asked to become the face of galactic reform, hadn't wanted to be humanity's symbol. But the relic had chosen her, and with that choice came responsibility. The assembly hall fell silent as she entered. Thousands of delegates from 400 species watched her approach the central platform. Human representatives sat among them now, not as accused criminals, but as equal partners in governance. Elena took her position, and holographic systems projected her image throughout the station and across the consortium's communication networks. Trillions of beings across the galaxy would hear these words. 6 months ago, I stood in chains, accused of crimes my species didn't commit, she began, her voice steady. Today, I stand before you not in anger but in hope. Hope that what we've learned from this tragedy will shape how we move forward together. She activated the display behind her, showing images of the reconstruction efforts. Colonies rebuilt. Stations restored. Families reunited. The relic didn't just reveal corruption. It showed us what we could become if we chose truth over convenience, justice over profit, unity over division. That future is still possible, but only if we commit to the harder path. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Humanity nearly lost everything because asking difficult questions made us dangerous, Elena continued. But here's what I've learned. Every species here has stories of speaking up and being silenced, of seeing injustice and being told to ignore it, of wanting change and being threatened into compliance. The Velkan ascendancy didn't just fear humans, they feared anyone who refused to accept corruption as normal. She paused, letting her words sink in. So this Truth Commission isn't about punishing the past. It's about building a future where no species, human or otherwise, faces extinction for demanding accountability. Where artifacts like the relic don't have to wait millennia to be heard because we're actively listening to each other. Ambassador Quicks rose, their slug-like form somehow managing dignity. I voted to exile humanity. I believed the evidence because it was easier than questioning my own prejudices. Commander Vasquez could have demanded my resignation. Instead, she asked me to serve on the commission with her. Their eye stalks turned toward Elena. Why? Elena smiled. Because you admitted you were wrong. Because when shown the truth, you changed. That's all any of us can do. Learn from our mistakes and commit to doing better. Humanity isn't perfect. We've made our share of errors throughout history, but we've also learned that growth requires humility. The Thelian captain stood next, his carapace reflecting the hall's lighting. My people want to know, what happens when the Commission discovers new corruption? How do we prevent another Velthor? Transparency, Elena answered simply. The relic's archives are being cataloged and made accessible to all member species. Every trade agreement, every military deployment, every resource allocation will be subject to public review. It'll be messy and slow and frustrating, but it's the only way to ensure we're building something that lasts. Ythral's voice rang out with crystalline clarity. Then let this assembly mark the beginning of a new age. Not the age of humanity, or of any single species, but the age of truth. May we prove ourselves worthy heirs to the wisdom the relic preserved. The vote was unanimous. As the assembly erupted in celebration, species-specific cheers creating a chaotic symphony of hope, Elena returned to the observation deck. Through the window, she could see Earth's sun, a distant point of light among billions. Humanity had come to the stars seeking adventure and discovery. They'd found something more important, a chance to make things better, not just for themselves, but for everyone. The relic had called her heir of truth, but the real legacy wasn't hers alone. It belonged to every being willing to speak up, to question, to demand better. The galaxy had tried to erase humanity's name. Instead, humanity had helped write a new chapter for them all. And the stars, Elena thought, had never looked brighter.